January the 27th, 2026. Guys, a quick update. Most of you are aware of what went on this weekend in Minnesota, up in Minneapolis, and the fact that they have removed Greg Bovino, the head of Homeland Security there, and he's going back to El Centro, California, and that was his district. So if I were him, along with the agents that are going with him, I would be very happy to get out of minus 20-degree temperatures and get back to sunny California. And what is happening here, their mainstream media is trying to wrap this into something it's not. They're saying the Border Patrol Commander, Greg Bovino, to leave Minnesota and has no access to his social media. Now, some of this information, again, is coming from different sources. The White House said yesterday, and we watched Carolyn Leavitt, the spokesman, say that he was not being fired, he was going to California, and that he is very well respected. And so anyway, but mainstream media is painting it as he's getting kicked out. And again, they're saying he has no access to his social media, which I'm not sure about. But what I did see was that Trump called the Minnesota governor, and they said it was a good conversation. I think I mentioned that. And the fact that Trump agreed to a couple things, and whatever you call that thing that's a governor there, Tim Walz, he agreed to make some concessions too, but he really doesn't have a lot of choice. Trump is just trying to wind everything down a notch as he continues to move in, if you understand what I'm saying. So now Tom Homan is going in. So you replaced a colonel with the top general. And that should give a pretty good sign to Minnesota. Now, let me tell you what I saw in a video. Last night at one of the big hotels there, wasn't downtown, kind of outside. May have been a Holiday Inn Express, I can't remember. But Greg Bovino and ICE were staying in there last night, and suddenly a large group of protesters approached it and came in. And I was surprised, there was a lot of arrest. They were throwing stuff, tearing down the hotel signs out in the front, in the parking lot, things like that, and throwing things at the ICE agents. And what I saw was Minnesota's police, a group called from the Maple Leaf District, came in and started arresting people. And that's the first time I saw that, and I think that must be part of the deal between Trump and Tim Walz. Okay, you get your police in there to protect my ICE agents, and I'll make a concession, and I'll get Bovina and that group and Noam out. And so you get a dozen people out, and suddenly you have the Minnesota police now working to protect ICE. So that was a pretty good swap up, and I'm sure that, again, if I were from California, to hell with Minnesota. I'm not talking about the people there, I'm talking about the climate. Man, no way. That's why they had igloos and stuff back in the day up there. Anyway, that's, I guess, once you freeze your brain to a certain extent, it doesn't matter anymore for these protesters out all night. It's like brain dead zombies. Now, what will happen? Knowing Homan's supposed to be coming in there today, from what I understand. Add that to the fact that the Minnesota police, at least the Maple Leaf Division, maybe that's a city there within that area or district. Someone in the comments let me know. So it's going to be very interesting to watch and see what's going on. That's why I wanted to do the video. We have reports that now that maybe 40,000 people have been killed in Iran during this their protest against the Ayatollah. And the reports are that the Ayatollah is now in an underground bunker. And man, I wouldn't want to be president because you've got many external enemies, and you got internal enemies too. And it would be kind of nerve-wracking. And you have to just say enough is enough and come down with a heavy hand. But as far as Iran goes, I think we need to take care of home first. We don't need boots on the ground there. We don't need to be spending money there. I mean, they've been at war over there for thousands and thousands of years with each other. And so let's take care of home, Trump. We got enough people from other countries that are in here, thanks to Biden, that we need to concentrate on this. Now, I'm not talking about stopping an external security threat. And I think that's what happened in Venezuela, because it was being overrun by Iranian proxies, Hamas, the Houthis, and Hezbollah. They had set up camp in Venezuela. So that kind of stuff, and whatever else you need to do, if you need to watch Cuba very closely, I agree with all of that. But going into these desert wars that never end just seems a waste of our taxpayer money, and it doesn't appear to create stability in that environment. But what's happening, and again, Trump's in a bind, is Netanyahu is begging for us to protect Israel. And they don't mind stirring it up, but they sure call for Big Brother to come in after they stir up the hornet's nest. And that was all in the Albert Pike letter. We will establish a Israeli nation right in the heart of the hornet's nest, and then we will have our forever wars. That was the plan, and that's what's working out. So Trump, again, keep us safe. I think you're doing the right thing in Greenland. He made a deal. Now it's not an overtake or anything else like that. It's just basically, I think, establishing some protective bases as part of the North American Iron or Golden Dome, I think is what Trump is calling it. It's a missile protection system, and the dome needs to be there as much for the satellite weaponry now as for the incoming missile protection, things like that. That was a good move, because I think the world is being divided into three main powers. Europe is corrupt and crumbling. How else can you say it? Look at Macron and Starmer and that group of stooges and idiots that are running it. That's what Biden and his group was trying to do to us here. We all know that. But man, if you got to, and I know that there's a big pro-Zionist or Christian Zionist movement, but that has broke apart quite a bit in the last 3 years because of the conflict with Hamas. And people say, well, BP, you sound anti-Semitic. No, I'm not. I'm just not pro-Semitic. I'm neutral Semitic. I have friends and family here in America. I'm not anti-Semitic. I'm just not pro-Semitic. I'm pro-American. M-A-G-A, MAGA. Not the world. MAGA. Make America great again. Then, so if you want to call me anti-Semitic, whatever, I don't care, because I know I've learned so much in the ancient languages about the Bible and the real Christians and the ones that say they are Jews and are not, and were put into place in Israel by the Illuminati, the Albert Pike gang, that I'm not stupid. And, you know, ignorance is bliss sometimes, but I don't enjoy it at all. That's why I like to study. I make mistakes, but I try to share what I know. And when people blindly rush in to protect another nation when they don't even realize the words in the Bible were manipulated so heavy by Rome to help the Illuminati create this war, that you're running in blindly like foolish puppets. Wake up. It's time to wake up and circle the wagons around this nation and let the rest fight it out, as long as they don't fool with us. When they fool with us, you sting them. You burn that hand quickly, efficiently, and it's over. Ask Venezuela. But we don't want to have to do that. But if the demons outside, we got enough demons here now. Look at Minnesota. If the demons outside our country want to come in, that's on them. Build the Golden Dome. Build all the protection we need, but stay out of the foreign wars if possible. Israel is not our problem. People believe, oh my God, if you don't support Israel, and I've heard many preachers say it, you don't support Jesus. That is the biggest crap of bull I've ever heard. And it's another deceitful trick, guys, put in by Rome and the Illuminati to keep the world focused on the war zone, which is Israel. That area. Keep us focused there while they move around. But the three powers, China, Russia, and the U.S., China and Russia wanted Greenland and were about to take it, and that would put quite a dent in our protective shield in North America. So Trump, that was a beautiful move. Beautiful. It had to be done. Simply because of the outside threat of China and Russia taking it and then having their missiles right on top of us. We couldn't have that. That's the protective things that need to happen. But stay out of Iran. Let Israel deal with their own corruption. And if anybody's anti-Semitic, it is the leaders in Israel. Because they are demons. They are the people Christ warned us about. He said there are Jews there that claim to be, but are not, and are of the synagogue of Satan. Look at the people there running that nation and many nations. I want nothing to do with it. It has nothing to do with my salvation or yours. Our Father is within us. Heaven is within you. It's not sitting in a desert town in the Middle East. It's right here at home with your friends and your family. That's where it's at. That's why our Father put us here. The last great nation on our planet, and they're trying to destroy it daily. So guys, we're watching. There's a lot of information coming out. Mainstream's going to weave this Greg Bavino, Kristi Noem thing into oblivion. But the smart move was, again, pull the group that was going to be attacked relentlessly. Bavino and his squad there, or maybe the ones involved in the shooting, get them out, remove that target. You understand what I'm saying? Get that target, put it back in California, and which California has kind of eased up a little bit since ICE has been there, and pull that threat out, give a little bit to Waltz as you prepare to put him in jail, and get a lot back. Again, let me show you an image from last night. Hold on. Now, this is an image last night. This is on Fox News this morning. And these are local police. I think it is. And I noticed the maple leaf when we got some close-ups on emblem on their shirt. And I think that's part of the deal. And these guys were very aggressive with the protesters. They arrested quite a few. Now, how long they'll stay in jail, that's another thing. But they arrested quite a few, and they were getting very violent outside of the hotel you see behind the agents. And this happened last night. They had to come in and basically look like rescue or stop the assault on the hotel that got real bad. And didn't see there was maybe a couple of ICE agents or Homeland Security agents in the fray, but I think it's part of Trump putting the pressure on Waltz with his local police. Okay, you don't want us to do it, you do it. And the whole thing is Waltz and Frey there, and some of the other leaders are guilty as hell of now Trump saying $100 billion in fraud. Remember, it was 9, then it was 20. And while it was 20, they were saying California was $100 billion worth of fraud. And now Trump is saying Minnesota is now up to $100 billion. And that California is worse. They found a whole huge building a couple of days ago, some of the researchers that are conservative, and it had 40 different healthcare type offices in it, getting millions of dollars, and no one was there in any of the places. And so, again, the delay, I hope it's a delay on the fraudsters getting locked up. They're getting some of the low-hanging fruit. I know that. But the mentality of Antifa, and that's who we're dealing with, is beyond pale. And the reason I say that is it looks like most of the leaders there are with Antifa. And you've heard about the signal chat thing they've got going on in Minneapolis and in all the cities that are sanctuary cities. And everyone has a cell phone. They all have a whistle, and they're designated on the phone, on the chat thing. You got little emojis. I saw it. If someone's walking, then it's someone running the streets reporting. If they're in a car, they're driving and looking for trouble and looking to block ICE agents and stuff like that. Now they have gotten top people involved. I mean, people in the very top. I think the Attorney General, some of the other people in that office, all the way up into Waltz and Frey's group, were running the signal chat to attack ICE, saying they weren't. And what happened, some very good reporters gathered all of that signal chat information, traced it back, and of course the people were using bogus names, just their moniker. But they traced it back to the AG and other people. That's very interesting, very complex and highly organized situation. And the freak Petty that got his brains blowed out for fooling with ICE was part of that signal group. And he was supposedly a nurse. He was armed. He didn't have an ID. And that's another protester thing. No ID on you. You get into jail, get out real quick. They don't really know who you are. Well, even his parents told him don't do anything stupid, but he did it anyway. He would, in other words, the ICE, what I read, and it makes sense in looking at it, the ICE vehicles were coming into that area to arrest someone that had a warrant. And when their vehicles pulled up in that little section of Minnesota there, the signal chat went out everywhere immediately. And so that's why Petty or Pretty, whatever his name is, zoomed in there real quick, got there as they were setting up to arrest this person. It happened that quick, and the people coming in so fast after the shooting had all been called in before it. And so that type of situation has to be addressed differently. I don't know if they're going to have to use jammers temporarily. I don't know what's going to happen, but something is about to go down because Trump is not going to be able to keep up with what's going on, like I said, externally and internally at the same time. Eventually, a hammer's going to drop somewhere. And it needs to happen in every sanctuary city. They all need to be declared illegal. And when I think, and I saw it mentioned, that if Trump were to declare an insurrection act, again, he doesn't have to do it nationwide. When they did it for the shootings in California, it was just for California or for that area. And so I'm looking for that to be the situation. Now, we're also seeing a lot of Republicans turn against Trump because of the shooting. Maria Bartiromo and James Comer was saying he thinks maybe we need to come out of Minnesota. And Maria Bartiromo was saying on Fox yesterday, as she was interviewing James Comer, she was in freak-out zone, man. She was tripping because of the shooting. So what's happening is the cracked eggs are getting taken out of the basket, if you understand what I'm saying. These situations, as they get deeper and deeper, you're going to see the rhinos come out both in mainstream and in politics. And of all people, Fetterman is for ICE. He came out and talked about it. He may be even about to leave the Democratic Party. Who knows? But anyway, things are changing very quickly. If you want to watch this video, go check it out, and it got rough. The protesters took the wrong end of this fight. They did a lot of destruction before everybody moved in. And the police tried to talk to them. Settle down, it's peaceful. We're local police. They wouldn't have it. And a lot of them got arrested and tear gassed and drug away. Again, probably for an hour in jail, and then no bail, no cash bail, excuse me. Anyway, this week is turning out to be a changing point in everything, a shift. So, as it's going to become more frantic as we get closer to the midterms. And what we're seeing again is politicians trying to protect themselves from the greed and the theft of billions. They're trying to protect themselves from going to jail by sacrificing the brainwashed minions that our colleges and universities and high schools have fermented over the last 4 decades. Now they're in office. Now they're in hospitals, just like Petty. And there's one nurse in Florida that ran her mouth yesterday and said she would refuse to work on any Republican, any MAGA, or anybody else in that hospital. She would refuse it. And I don't think she's long to be employed in Florida for saying that. My point is this: you cannot trust the medical field at all. Maybe a handful, but a lot of them are in the same age group as these minions that ICE is fighting. And you go into a hospital, and you better not have a MAGA hat on. You'll probably get stabbed in the heart on the operating table. But I've seen it. With one of my ex-doctors, back when Trump first came into office, I'm trying to remember, I think the Department of Health or somebody got about 20,000 people laid off. And a lot of it was because of they had too much duplicity. In other words, a lot of people not working, a lot of people being paid a lot, and not a lot getting done. And then, just like I told a friend of mine that's still a friend, but it's a nurse, that I would never trust to her face. After COVID, I would never trust the medical establishment. But my doctor, I was in her office and we were discussing it again, Trump. I said, "What do you think about Trump laying off all the health department people?" She said, "I can't believe that 20,000 people without a job, what they got to do." I'm like, okay, I know you're libtarded, to myself then. And then she acted strange after that. I no longer deal with her. She actually even left that office and moved to Texas. But that's how it is. And she was like she's like 45 or something like that, old enough to know better. And so we have a large group of our population that only listen to mainstream media. And mainstream media is an enemy of the United States, just like Antifa and these protesters, the sanctuary cities, and the politicians that lead them are all domestic internal terrorists. And they need to be declared that. Let the heavy hand come down, sweep it out, we'll move on. That's what it's going to take, because they're not going to back down unless it happens, and they're going to destroy this nation unless it happens. So Trump has the power. Now he's making these chess moves. But again, this video, guys, live, Tom Homan takes command in Minneapolis as federal strategy shifts. Fox News, check it out. We're watching it. You watch it. It's a heads up. Be safe.